At the 2000 Olympics, Ian Thorpe debuted a revolutionary bodysuit by Adidas. The technology, which reduced drag in the water, was improved and eventually banned from competitive swimming. 20 years later, an ancient sport is having its day of reckoning, sparking fierce debate among its followers.
The world record is ours, and look at the clock! 2 hours, 11:50.
On September 24 this year, Tigist Assefa took more than 2 minutes off the women's world record. Less than a month later, Kelvin Kipton broke the men's world record in Chicago, edging closer to the elusive 2-hour barrier. It's partly thanks to this, the Nike Vaporfly, a hyper-bouncy running shoe that is credited for kickstarting a revolution in 2016. 7 years later, the sport of marathon running is asking, when it comes to a spring in your step, how much is too much? The world of marathon running is in its so-called super shoe era, and the revolutionary design is proving super controversial. When it comes to record keeping, some runners believe the sport should officially acknowledge the new or risk losing credibility.
If they did do that, it would enable this current generation that are just churning out so-called records all the time to get more respect, because it would put things in perspective. They'd be in the correct context. Whereas right now, they've cheapened the currency of record breaking.
Biomechanist and ultra-runner Jeff Burns argues super shoes are threatening the sport's legacy.
It disconnects us from the sport's past totally. And running was always this sport that we had this common thread connecting us to characters of the past. And so these shoes really disrupt us and cut us off from that.
He says the super shoe is made super by 2 distinct interacting ingredients.
One, new foams that you can store and release a lot more energy. They're much softer and much more resilient. And then 2, a rigid plate that goes through the foam. It's curved underneath the toe joint.
People respond differently, but the technology can allow athletes to reduce their times by 3 to 5 minutes.
They enable athletes to stave off fatigue. You don't feel tired in the last 20, 25% of the race like you used to and have done for the last 50, 70 years. And I think at the marathon, it's giving men 3 to 5 minutes. I think it's giving a lot of women more than that because their feet are smaller and yet they're allowed the same depth of protection on the bottom of the shoe.
In 2020, the World Athletics body introduced limits on the super shoe, but stopped short of a total ban. However, not everyone is against the super shoe. Australian Olympian Steve Monteghetti says progression is important for the sport.
They've revolutionised the sport, bring lots of people along, so that recreational running's booming, and we're seeing elites breaking world records, getting news coverage, and I think it's great for the sport.
Marathon running is not the first sport to manage the influence of controversial technology.
Breaks the world record!
And it won't be the last.
Here comes Tamrit Tola, and all that exhaustion will give way to elation as he wins the 52nd running in the TCS New York City Marathon.
Sam Squires, Sky News.